Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Edward Finley, and with me are Commissioners William T. Culpepper III, Brian E. Beatty, Susan W. Raven, Tanola D. Brown Bland, and Lucy T. Allen. I now call for hearing docket number E2 sub 1023, which is the application of Carolina Power and Light Company, doing business as Progress Energy Carolinas, Inc., for adjustment of rates and charges applicable to electric service in North Carolina. On October 12, 2012, Progress filed an application for rate increase and supporting direct testimony of several of its witnesses. By its application, Progress requests authority to increase its rates and charges to produce additional overall annual North Carolina retail revenues of approximately $387 million, an increase of approximately 12% over current revenues. In support of the requested increase, Progress states that it has made capital investments of $2.3 billion for replacing, upgrading, and retiring generation plants and transmission and distribution systems. Other reasons Progress cites for the requested increase include increased expenses relating to nuclear operations, the company's adoption of a cyclical-based vegetation management program, lower usage per customer and slower growth, increased pension costs, and other miscellaneous costs. Progress has also requested to transfer the cost of its distribution system demand response program from its demand-side management and energy efficiency rider into its base rates, which will be offset by a corresponding reduction to Progress's DSMEE rider in the amount of $28 million. The net overall annual North Carolina retail revenues requested by Progress are approximately $359 million, a net average increase of 11%. On November 5, 2012, the Commission issued its order scheduling investigation and hearing, suspending proposed rates, establishing an intervention and testimony dates, and discovery guidelines, and requiring public notice. An evidentiary hearing has been scheduled for Raleigh beginning March 18, 2013, to hear the witnesses of the parties, and 4 hearings have been scheduled at locations around the state for the purpose of receiving testimony from public witnesses addressing the proposed rate adjustment. That is the purpose of the hearing this evening. Interventions of parties have been filed and granted for Carolina Industrial Group for Fair Utility Rates 2, the North Carolina Waste Awareness and Reduction Network, Inc., Carolina Utility Customers Association, Inc., the Commercial Group, North Carolina Eastern Municipal Power Agency, the North Carolina Sustainable Energy Association, the Kroger Company, the Public Works Commission of the City of Fayetteville, Time Warner Cable, Inc., the North Carolina League of Municipalities, Utility Management Services, Inc., and Lower Cape Fear Water and Sewer Authority, and the United States Department of Defense. On February 28, 2013, the Public Staff and Progress filed an agreement and stipulation of settlement. These parties agreed to a reduced increase being phased in over a 2-year period. This agreement includes an overall increase of 4.7% effective June 1, 2013, and an additional 1% increase in 2014. Several statements of position have been received and filed in the official file for this document. This brings us up to the hearing before us tonight. In compliance with the State Ethics Act, I remind all members of the Commission of their duty to avoid conflicts of interest and inquire whether any member of the Commission has a known conflict of interest with regard to the matters coming before the Commission this evening. There appear to be no conflicts, so we will proceed, and I will call upon the parties to announce their appearances beginning with Progress.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Robert Kaler, appearing on behalf of Progress Energy Carolinas.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Tim Dodge with the Public Staff. We represent the using and consuming public. With me this evening is Tony White and Lucy Edmondson, and also Howard Loudermilk in the back of the room with our electric division.
Good evening. John Runkle representing NC Warren.
All right, are there any matters to come before the Commission before we start the testimony?
Mr. Chairman, we'd like to make an opening statement with our Raleigh District Manager, Mr. Marty Clayton.
All right, Mr. Clayton, if you'll come around and make your opening statement, please.
Thank you. Good evening. Members of the Commission, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Marty Clayton, and I'm the company's district manager for this region. I want to thank you for the opportunity tonight and for convening this hearing to hear from our customers and from members of the public who will share their thoughts about our proposed rate increase. Our decision to request this rate increase was not an easy one. In fact, We proposed the last time we proposed a rate increase to the base rate portion of our customer bills was in 1987. We've worked hard to control our costs since that time and to keep rates as low as possible. But even with those measures, we have reached a point where a rate increase is necessary to ensure that we can continue to provide a reliable service every day for our customers. A lot has changed since 1987. We've seen a 66% increase in new customers in the Carolinas, and customers are using 59% more electricity today than 25 years ago. They're using electricity to power larger homes and to enable an ever-expanding inventory of electronics and appliances. We currently serve 1.3 million homes and businesses in North Carolina with reliable electricity 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And in order to provide that electricity, we must invest in new generation and new technology. Since 1987, we've invested $11 billion to modernize the power plants that generate electricity and to update the system that safely and reliably delivers electricity to our customers. These improvements have helped Progress Energy Carolinas achieve a reliability rate of 99.97% while reducing emissions and generating electricity more efficiently than ever before. Investments in advanced emission controls technologies like those at our Roxboro and our Mayo plants have helped lower nitrogen oxide emissions by more than 62% and sulfur dioxide emissions by more than 50% since 2005. Also, we're retiring older, less efficient coal plants that lack these environmental controls and replacing them with cleaner burning natural gas fired units. Approximately 84% of the requested rate increase reflects investments already made to ensure safe, reliable service every day. The proposed rate increase reflects $2.3 billion of investments that we have already made toward cleaner energy future. Now we're seeking to begin recovering these improvement investments that will provide benefits to this state for decades to come. We recognize that electricity is a significant expense for many of our customers, and any increase will be a challenge for some. We are focused on minimizing the impact of increased rates through new energy efficiency programs for all of our customer classes. Programs like our residential lighting program, which has helped customers purchase nearly 10 million energy-saving compact fluorescent bulbs at substantially discounted price, or our home energy improvement program that has provided customers incentives to make more than 79,000 energy efficiency improvements to their homes. We're also helping businesses save energy through our Energy Efficiency for Business program, and one of our newest offerings, the Small Business Energy Savers program, which provides discounted energy efficiency measures to help small business owners lower their energy cost. These programs have helped our customers save more than 357 million kilowatt hours of electricity. That's equivalent to removing an entire town from the electric grid. And we're focused on helping our low-income customers and those customers who are struggling to pay their electric bills. Today, nearly 15,000 homes of low-income families across the state, including more than 3,000 homes here in the Wake County area, have been retrofitted through the Neighborhood Energy Savers program at no cost to our customers. Additionally, the Energy Neighbor Fund has provided nearly $400,000 last year to Progress Energy families in Wake and surrounding counties, and more than $21 million statewide since 1982 to help pay energy costs for those in crisis across our state. We continue to work to manage the rate increase to our customers, and recently, after extensive negotiations, as has been mentioned tonight, we reached an agreement with the North Carolina Public Staff to reduce the average increase for customers from 11% to a total increase of 5.7% phased in over 2 years. We believe this settlement, if approved by the North Carolina Utilities Commission, would keep rates as low as possible while beginning to recover investments made to ensure safe, reliable, and increasingly clean electricity for the future. The settlement agreement will be presented next week as part of the evidentiary hearing on March the 18th. Please know that we do care about our customers. In fact, I'm proud to say that we have our customer care team here tonight with me, and I'd just like for them to raise their hand to be recognized, if they don't mind. We'll be here to answer any questions, and I would just like to thank you again for this opportunity to be with you tonight. We look forward to hearing from our customers, and we appreciate the opportunity to serve you and them each and every day. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clayton, for your opening statements.
Chairman Finley, the public staff would also like to make an opening statement.
All right, Mr. Dodge.
Good evening. I am Tim Dodge, an attorney with the public staff. As I mentioned earlier, the public staff is an independent agency, state agency that represents the using and consuming public in matters before the Utilities Commission. As Chairman Finley indicated, there are sign-up sheets in the back, and Howard Loudermilk, one of our engineers, is helping sign folks in. If you wish to speak tonight and haven't signed in, please sign in and let Howard. Howard has some simple instructions that he can give you back there as well. We have a large number of folks here tonight. I believe there's an overflow room with additional parties. So to help ensure that the process goes smoothly and everyone who wishes to speak is here in the room, I'll call 2 names at a time. The first person that I call can come up to the witness stand, and the second person, if you don't mind, there's a chair right in the front corner here, the front row. If you could come to that chair and be ready to speak as soon as the next person is finished up, that'll just help the evening go more smoothly for everyone. After you've been sworn in or affirmed, I'll ask you to state your name, address, and whether you're a Progress customer. Please speak as clearly as possible so the court reporter can get all the information in the record. I apologize if I mispronounce your name. We may ask you to spell your name as well. If you have any documents that you wish to include in the record, please provide them to myself or Howard, and we can make sure that they are identified appropriately and included in tonight's transcript. If you have questions about the requested increase, the public staff will also be happy to speak with you during the break or after tonight's hearing. At the back of the room, I've set out some yellow flyers by the sign-in sheet. This has some simple instructions on how to obtain more information on the Commission's website about this proceeding. It also has a address, both email address and traditional mailing address, where you can submit written comments in this proceeding. So please grab one of those sheets. If you have to leave early and wish to make a written statement, grab one of those sheets. There's an email address where you could submit your comments. As Chairman Finley indicated, the public staff has reached a settlement in principle with Progress regarding certain issues in this docket. In addition to the reduction in the size of the increase, the settlement also includes an agreement that Progress will convert $20 million of a regulatory liability to be allocated among programs that provide assistance to low-income customers and programs that provide worker training and workforce assistance, or workforce development, excuse me. There are a number of issues, including some rate design issues, that remain in dispute. The Commission begins its evidentiary hearing next week in this matter, and the Commission is not bound by the stipulation, so it will be making its decision following that hearing and after receiving testimony from all public and expert witnesses. Thank you in advance for your participation tonight, and also for helping us maintain the decorum in the room this evening.
Anyone else? All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk a little bit about procedure. I see some familiar faces out there, but I see some faces that I do not recognize. Some of you have testified before, some of you have not, but let's go over the procedure nevertheless. In conducting these proceedings, the Commission is functioning like a court. We have rules that we must comply with as set forth in the legislature, by the legislature. The testimony that we take must be sworn for us to consider that testimony when we render our opinion. We have a court reporter here taking down the testimony so that we will have it accurately and be able to use it in going forward. We ask you to be cooperative in the presentation of the testimony that you make so that we can get it accurately. We have a lot of people in the room. I don't know how many people have signed up or how many might sign up, but this is the 4th proceeding that we've had in this case. We've gone late into the night on a number of occasions. We would ask you very much if you could be concise in the testimony that you provide. If you have if you've written your testimony down, a lot of people have gone to a lot of trouble to write down what they would like to say. If you would like to summarize that testimony, I think everyone in the room would appreciate that. You can present the full text of it to the court reporter, and we'll put it in the record. People signed up in the order in which they came, so some of you are at the bottom of the list and some of you are at the top of the list. If you're at the end of the list, you're probably going to get a little bit anxious as your co-testifiers testify. So we would ask those at the top of the list to please be succinct and to be courteous and think about the people who are going to come behind you. The more quickly we can get through the testimony, the more opportunity we're going to have for everybody to speak. The lawyers and the commission can ask questions. What we're going to try to do, though, is in the hearings thus far, we have been sort of not asking very many questions so that we could get through all the witnesses. And what I would ask the parties and the commissioners to do, to let me know if you have a question. And otherwise, we'll sort of assume that there is no question and we will proceed to the next witness. We ask you to address your testimony to the commission. We're the people who have to make the decision. Don't turn around, please, and address the audience. That's not what this is. This is a public hearing conducted by the commission, but it is not a public forum where we address the audience. I think that's enough instruction, so if you will call your first witness, Mr. Dodge. Ms. Force.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to say for the record, I'm with the Attorney General's office, Margaret Force, and wanted my appearance to be noted. I think I was out of the room when you were.
Your appearance is noted. Mr. Dodge, call the first witness.
Thank you. Our first witness is Karen Mallum. Following Ms. Mallum will be Gina Dean.
Left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand, please, ma'am. Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Good evening, Ms. Mallum. Could you please provide your name and address?
My name is Karen Malum. I live at 810 Buckner Springs Road, Siler City, North Carolina.
And could you spell your last name?
M-A-L-L-A-M.
You're a Progress customer?
I am.
Please proceed with your statement.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Commission members, I am a Progress customer. As a citizen of North Carolina and grandmother to children living in North Carolina, I urge you to not deny the requested rate request by Duke Progress Energy. My reasons for opposing the request include Duke Progress Energy is proposing an increase that is regressive, hitting those using the least power with a 45% increase, and the rest of residential users with an increase between 19 and 11%. That's unconscionable given the high unemployment rate in North Carolina. At 9.4%, we're ranked 47th out of 50, and the number of us on low fixed incomes. I don't think most citizens can afford this kind of increase. 2, the rate plan under consideration shifts costs from industrial users to residential users. It also penalizes energy conservation efforts rather than encouraging conservation. 3, Duke Progress Energy has adopted a long-term plan for North Carolina that calls for more expensive, dirty power plants. The public interest favors cheaper, cleaner alternatives that are currently available. As an example, my husband and I generate 9.2 kilowatts of solar power that goes into the Progress grid, and solar power is becoming cheaper to produce every day. In summary, I urge the Utilities Commission members to do their job and stand up for the citizens of North Carolina in rejecting the rate proposal. The health and future of our children and grandchildren should not be sacrificed on the altar of corporate greed.
Thank you, Ms. Mellon. Appreciate you coming tonight.
Thank you.
Gina Dean, and after Ms. Dean will be Leanne Nance.
Solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do. I will.
Good evening, Ms. Dean.
Good evening.
Could you please provide your name and address for the court reporter?
Gina Dean, D-E-A-N, address 1107 Pettis Place, Raleigh, North Carolina, 27610.
And are you a Progress Energy customer?
Yes, I am.
Please proceed with your statement.
Okay, thank you. To the chairman and to the Utilities Commission, I would like to say thank you for allowing everyday people the opportunity to come and speak. I am Gina Pettis-Dean, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Raleigh Waste Citizens Association, an organization in the community over 75 years. I am not here to defend the rate increase, but I thought it not robbery that somebody in the community should come and share with you that Progress Energy has been a friend to the community. And you need to know that when problems have come in the community, we have had persons to call and they did seek help. And so I don't know about the increase. It go and may not go. But what I do know is that the community, they have been a friend. And I just want the record to show that when we have needed them, they have been there. Thank you.
Any questions? So call your next witness.
One quick question,
Yes.
Ms. Dean.
Mhm.
You indicated you're representing the Raleigh Waste Citizens Association.
Yes.
And your comments tonight were in representative
Yes.
capacity of that organization?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Leanne Nance, and after Ms. Nance will be Amy Ty.
Put your left on the Bible there and raise your right hand. Solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, please provide your name and address.
Leanne Nance, 75 Harvest Ridge Drive, Andrew, North Carolina, and I am a Progress customer.
Please proceed with your statement.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I am the Senior Vice President for the Research Triangle Regional Partnership, one of 7 economic development partnerships defined by the legislature. And we represent 13 counties and the Research Triangle Park. 10 of those counties are rural and 3 of those are urban. I have been an economic developer for 11 years, and as a part of my job, I go across the world and try to get companies to locate in the Research Triangle region and in the state of North Carolina instead of anywhere else in the world. I also help companies who are located here grow here. And I wanted to say to you tonight, and it was important for me to be here tonight to tell you that Duke Progress have been great partners in my work as an economic developer. I have done this work for 11 years, and prior to that, I served in manufacturing as a marketing and communications director. Throughout my career, I have found Duke Progress to be great partners in helping us to create jobs in this state and helping us to create investment. They have been partners in helping to recruit these companies and helping to land these companies. And once those companies land, they have been meaningful partners in keeping these companies satisfied and in the state of North Carolina. Also, in my capacity at the Research Triangle region, I run the Research Triangle Clean Technology Cluster. This is a program of the Research Triangle Regional Partnership that includes companies who are trying to work on technologies to modernize the grid and to develop our infrastructure for the future. Duke Energy is a partner with other companies in this region, such as ABB and Siemens and many other companies, in trying to do that work of the future, as well as our universities. And I feel that they are working very hard with the Research Triangle Regional Partnership to not only recruit companies, but to make sure we remain competitive in the state of North Carolina for recruiting companies in the future. One of the greatest advantages we have in recruiting companies to this region is price stability and predictability, as well as power, stability, and quality. And we achieve those things, and we're able to tell companies that we have those things when we go around the world and ask them to consider locating in the state of North Carolina and in the Research Triangle region. So I appreciate the opportunity to come tonight and tell you that Duke Progress had been a very big and important part of that work, and I'm happy to entertain any questions.
All right, so I don't see any questions. Ms.
One
Dodge, you have a
question.
Yes, sir.
Your comments tonight represent the position of the Research Triangle Regional Partnership?
Yes, sir, they do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nance.
Amy Ty, and after Ms. Ty, Harvey Richmond.
Solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Good evening, Ms. Ty. Could you please provide your name and address for the court reporter?
Yes, sir. Amy Ty, Thai. My home address is 4013 Newby Road, NEWBY, Rocky Mount, North Carolina, 27804.
Are you a Progress customer?
Yes, sir. / Duke. Yes.
Please proceed with your statement.
Good evening, Utilities Commission and Chairman and respected members. My name is Amy Ty, and as a freshman at NC State University, I greatly appreciate the opportunity to exercise and partake in democracy on such a crucial issue. So I thank you and commend you for holding this public hearing tonight. Although I quickly fell into the poor college kid lifestyle at the start of this academic year, I continue to believe in quality over quantity. I clearly understand that we must invest more money into a product or service for better quality. It is a very logical concept. However, as Duke and Progress Energy's changing mission states, we must provide energy that is affordable, reliable, and increasingly clean. I am utterly confused as how the proposed rate hike is even being considered. While this rate hike will negatively impact not just North Carolinians financially, but also all of the customers that Duke Energy and Progress Energy have now across the country as one utility company, and everyone in this very room sitting behind me, including the individuals in the overflow rooms, it simultaneously affects each and every one of us in a far more vital way: our health and well-being. Due to the energy practices this company is planning to implement, with additional funds to be spent on dangerous sources like building new nuclear and natural gas plants, instead of spending funds already gathered each year to transition to new renewable resources. I further object this rate hike because investing in renewable energy would actually be less costly in the long term, and I do not need to go to college for that, to know that. According to Greenpeace, if Duke switched to renewable energy and energy efficiency, it could save ratepayers more than $100 by 2030. That is why I'm here tonight to respectfully ask you to reject this rate hike. Once again, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ty.
Harvey Richmond, and after Mr. Richmond will be Jocelyn Mills.
Solemnly swear that the testimony about to give in the case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Good evening, Mr. Richmond. Yes. Can you please provide your name and address for the court reporter?
Yeah, Harvey Richmond, 106 Hebride Court, that's Hebride Court in Cary, North Carolina.
Are you a Progress customer?
Yes, I am.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Good evening, and to the Commission Chair Finley and the rest of the Commission and the public. My name is Harvey Richmond. I'm a retired senior environmental analyst who worked at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency for over 31 years on the setting and review of the National Ambient Air Quality Standards. The views I'm expressing today reflect my own and do not represent any past or present employer or organization. I urge the Public Utilities Commission to reject Progress Energy's proposed rate hike. The average increase of 14.2% more for residential energy bills is unreasonable. I realize, and I have not seen the details of the settlement to know those, so some of these numbers may be outdated. The company was seeking a smaller percent increase from its largest customers, namely business and industry, while sticking it to the average citizen. Progress Energy needs to place the largest increase on those who use the most electricity so as to provide an incentive to reduce energy use. Progress Energy can do far more to encourage conservation and thus reduce the need for new expensive additional fossil fuel energy generation. Progress Energy should be striving to significantly increase its share of renewable energy generation. Utilities in other states and other developed countries are doing a far better job of moving to renewable sources of energy. There's no legitimate excuse for Progress Energy not to be leading in this area instead of dragging its feet. The U.S. EPA in December of 2012 just finalized more stringent particulate matter standards. It changed the annual standard from 15 micrograms to 12 micrograms per meter cubed. Since coal-fired power plants are a major contributor to the fine particles both through direct emissions and through secondary formation of nitrates and sulfates in the atmosphere, Progress Energy should be phasing out its use of its dirtiest power plants and should be moving away from coal to cleaner sources of energy and focusing on energy conservation and efficiency. In conclusion, I strongly urge the Utilities Commission to require Progress Energy to revise and restructure its proposed rate hike so as to reward those who use the least energy and not those who are the biggest users. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richmond. Appreciate you being here.
Jocelyn Mills, and after Ms. Mills, Sarah Gaskell.
solemnly swear that the testimony about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Ms. Mills.
Good evening.
Could you please provide your name and address?
Yes, Jacqueline Mills, and it's 3521 Syme Residence Hall, Raleigh, North Carolina 27607.
Could you spell your first name as well, please?
It's Jaclyn.
And are you a Progress customer? Please proceed.
I'd like to thank the North Carolina Utilities Commission for holding this meeting tonight. I'm here tonight to represent the young girl and the college students speaking to you now that spent many hours playing outside. Growing up, most of my summers were spent at my grandmother's house just outside of Greensboro. My sister and I spent a lot of time gardening with my grandparents, playing on the hay bales and climbing trees. But some of my best memories were those spent playing in the creek. That creek was a special place, and I want places like that to be safe and fun places for those other outdoor-loving children in North Carolina. The fact that the proposed rate hikes would help support natural gas usage is not acceptable to me, and it means we'd be putting more waterways at risk. As the ratepayer, I want to feel good about where my money is going. I'm happy to help make investments for things I believe in, but this is not one of them. Utilities Commission, please reject the rate hikes.
Come to right. Sarah Gaskell. After Ms. Gaskell will be Margaret Peebles.
Please stand. Solemnly swear the testimony about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Good evening, Ms. Gaskell. Could you please provide your name and address for the court reporter?
Sarah Gaskell, address is 800 South Salisbury Street, Raleigh, North Carolina 27602. That's my employment address, and that's all.
All right. And who is your employer?
Greater Raleigh Chamber of Commerce.
And you're a Progress customer? Please proceed.
Thank you for this opportunity to share the experience I have had with Progress Energy. I understand that there is significant discussion about rates. I'm not knowledgeable and cannot speak to anything regarding that. However, as a Progress Energy customer since 2000 and the Vice President of Membership Services and Small Business, I'm happy to tell you about the strong partnerships that the Greater Raleigh Chamber of Commerce has with Progress Energy. The Greater Raleigh Chamber is an active part of the Triangle community, and we've always been able to rely on Progress Energy to be quick and highly responsive to any power issues in our area, as well as a great resource of information that we share with others. Whether using traditional or social media, our community is informed on storm threats and safety concerns and the proper way to deal with them. Progress Energy has been a supporter of the Chamber and local small businesses for decades. Through our Meet the Purchasers and Green Plus program, Progress Energy has provided opportunities for small businesses to grow and improve their energy efficiency. As participants in the Working Mothers and Chamber Executive Women's programs, Progress Energy and its employees have supported professional development and work-life balance for business women in our community. By being active in the Leadership Raleigh and Young Professionals Networks programs, Progress Energy has been investing in our community's future and its leaders. Progress Energy, and now Duke Energy Progress, is a valued and trusted partner in building our businesses and the community as a whole. With Progress Energy's dedicated engagement in the Triangle community, we all benefit from the support they provide. Thank you for your time.
Ma'am, do you know what your monthly bill is at the chamber office? Could you afford a 10% increase in that monthly bill?
That's out of my area of expertise, so I wouldn't be able to.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Gaskell.
Margaret Peebles. And after Ms. Peebles will be Clara Exum.
I would be glad to affirm my
All right.
testimony.
That'll be fine. You solemnly affirm that the testimony about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do. Thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Peebles. Could you please provide your name and address?
Margaret Peoples, 3705 Edwards Mill Road, Raleigh.
you could spell your last name.
P as in Peter, double E, P as in Peter, L-E-S.
Are you a Progress customer?
I am.
Please proceed with your statement.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share my concerns as a residential ratepayer. I'm a retired librarian. My husband is a retired teacher. We live on fixed incomes. We do not understand why any utility that continues to pollute our atmosphere with CO2 and other greenhouse gases and risks escalating extreme climate events would present such a rate request and energy plan. A request and plan that rewards large industrial users and waste generators with lower rate hikes and punishes conservation-minded homeowners with bloated rates. Last week, Navy 4-star Admiral Locklear said that the biggest long-term security threat is climate change. This is from the Boston Globe of March 9th. He said, and I quote, "You have the real potential here in the not-too-distant future of nations displaced by rising sea level. Certainly weather patterns are more severe than they have been in the past," unquote. So if you don't believe the 95% of climate scientists who predict extreme climate change unless we dramatically reduce greenhouse gas pollution, maybe you should consider a security expert, Admiral Locklear. When I looked at the Duke and Progress plans for the years ahead and saw that they were projecting that by 2027 to 2032, their sources of energy would be coal for 22%, natural gas 30%, nuclear 25%, and oil at 6%, that adds up to about 83%. And then I looked to see how much would be energy efficiency. Wind and solar contribute by those years. About 3%. A measly 3%. This is their plan, and as a flyer recently sent with my bill states, a plan to, quote, provide clean, affordable energy to help our communities thrive, end quote. To me, it seems like a dirty energy plan to help the 1% profit from pollution and imperil our security. I went to a database maintained by the North Carolina Solar Center to see what other states were requiring their utilities to provide in the way of renewable energies. Minnesota's standard for its largest utility company, Xcel Energy, is 30% wind by 2020. Xcel is already at 18% wind. So here is overcast Minnesota, I used to live there, utilizing its plains-given wind and coming up with 30% by 2020. And we get just 3% wind and solar by 2027 and 2032. There is a reason the Wright brothers came to North Carolina, and it wasn't just the soft sand for crash landings. It was the coastal wind to help lift the wings of their plane. Wind maps showing America's shores indicate that North Carolina has enough offshore wind energy to power over 2 million homes without the risk of oil spills damaging fishing and tourism. North Carolina could increase its wind energy and its solar energy production if investments were made in those sectors. And am I the only one who has noticed a significant solar effect here in the summer? Surely we could come up with more than 3% wind and solar, especially if the irrational, exuberant greed was replaced with a sustainable and secure energy plan, as suggested by N.C. Warren, a plan that emphasizes conservation, cogeneration, energy efficiencies, and wind and solar energy. The title for their plan is, quote, a responsible energy future for North Carolina. And that plan can be viewed at their website. The key word in the title of N.C. Warren's plan to me would be the word responsible, which means having a capacity for moral decisions and therefore accountable. Duke and Progress Energy are trying desperately to be unaccountable, wanting no authority over their plans except the bottom line. No accountability for their carbon and methane pollution. No accountability for forcing low-income and fixed-income families to choose between medicine or heat. Duke Progress must abandon an energy plan that threatens global security, puts our country and our state in danger, and redesigns their plans to help us return to a sustainable climate. They need to become a responsible and accountable company. For the sake of all our children and grandchildren, I demand a better, greener, and cheaper plan for all our futures. Thank you.
We'll be fine, but no whooping and hollering, and let's leave it as lightly as we can so we can proceed with the testimony. Go ahead.
Next witness is Claire Exum. After Ms. Exum, Bob Robinson.
Ms. Exum, if you'll put your left hand on the Bible and raise your right with me. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Good evening, Ms. Exum. How are you doing tonight? Could you please provide your name and address for the court reporter?
My name is Clara Exum. My address is 127 Lincoln Court, Raleigh. And my business address is 717 East Martin Street, and that's Raleigh also.
Can you spell your last name?
E-X-U-M.
Thank you. And are you a Progress customer?
Yes, for the business and residents.
Thank you. Please proceed with your statement.
My husband and I own a strip mall, and one of the shops in the mall is a laundromat, which we operate. Energy increases will force us to increase the rate we charge to our customers for washers and dryers. This will have a negative impact on our customers and will probably result in less business, which means less income. If the rates become too high, our customers may be forced to wash their laundry at home in their sinks and bathtubs. This is why we are objecting to the proposed rate increase. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Exum. Other questions?
Robinson, and after Mr. Robinson, Wanda Schneider.
Schrader.
Thank you.
Ms. Robinson, you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. Good evening, Mr. Robinson. Could you please provide your name and address for
Robert Robinson, 7905 Round Oak Road, Raleigh, 276.
Are you a Progress customer?
I am.
Please proceed with your statement.
Good evening, Utility Commission members. I am Bob Robinson, Volunteer Coordinator with the National Youth Chamber of Commerce. We are participating in a 20-year long-term planning and programming strategy to provide alternative energy solutions that are required for North Carolina. The veteran population that we serve, supported by Progress Energy, was developed to support training and job placement for alternative energy solutions. I am pleased that our collaboration with Progress Energy has created green jobs and programming for veterans and hundreds of unemployed individuals from the North Carolina Workforce Development Boards throughout our state. This time we are extremely pleased to support Progress Energy in the plans that have created 400 jobs in anticipation of an additional 375 within the year of 2013. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Wanda Schrader?
Hey, Schrader.
Schrader, I'm sorry. And after Ms. Schrader, Margaret Toman.
I'll just swear the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Good evening, Ms. Schrader.
Good evening, Wanda Schrader, 116 Skylark Way, Raleigh, North Carolina, 27615. And I had an email from Progress Energy today.
If you don't mind, Ms. Schrader, would you please spell your last name for the court?
SCHRADER, like the race car driver.
And you are a Progress customer?
I absolutely am a Progress customer. As I said, I had an email from them this afternoon assuring me of the things that are in the mission statement that I read to you last time I was here last month. First, I'd like to do a short social studies review, and you'll see, I think you'll see as a commission that how pertinent I feel like it is. The two forms of government, democracy and republic, are not only dissimilar, but antithetical, reflecting the sharp contrast between A, the majority unlimited, and a democracy lacking any legal safeguard of the rights of the individual and the minority, and B, the majority limited, and a republic under a written constitution safeguarding the rights of the individual and the minority, as we shall now see. The chief characteristics and distinguishing feature of a democracy is ruled by an omnipotent majority. In a democracy, the individual and any group of individuals composing any minority have no protection against the unlimited power of the majority. In a republic, which we are, if you remember the pledge, we say the word republic every time we make it, on the other hand, has a very different purpose and an entirely different form or system. Its purpose is to control the majority strictly, as well as all others among the people, primarily to protect the individual's God-given unalienable rights, and therefore for the protection of the rights of the minority, of all minorities, and the liberties of people in general. Now, the reason I feel like that's pertinent is I went to your mission statement this time, the Utilities Commission, and there are 11 bullets. And number 1 is provide fair regulation of public utilities in the interest of the public. I'm not going to read them all to you. You can go them. And as I said to you last time when I came here, we have over 1 million seniors living in North Carolina in poverty. Now, as I stopped by Dunkin' Donuts on the way in to get me a cup of coffee, I told the young ladies behind the counter what I was doing tonight. She said, well, tell them we don't want them raised either. They're not seniors, I assure you. They're much younger than I. But I'm here tonight. I feel like you're our best last hope. You are the people that we have in place to safeguard the rights of the people, which are the public that are served by Progress Energy. And I don't intend to disparage the Duke Energy Company. You know, I've enjoyed the services. I like heating and air conditioning, as most of us do in North Carolina, and I'm a South Carolinian from birth. But I just would appreciate it if you, as the Utilities Commission, realize how many people we have in our state that will, I guess once again, as we hear, make a choice between whether and how well they can heat and cool their homes, or how much food they can buy, or, you know, different things like that. Thank you. Anything else?
There's something else. I appreciate you coming tonight.
Margaret Toman. After Ms. Toman, Elizabeth Hutchby.
So I'm swearing the testimony about to give this case with truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
Good evening, Ms. Toman. Can you please provide your name and address?
My name is Margaret, M-A-R-G-A-R-E-T, Toman, T-O-M-A-N, 109 Halstead, H-A-L-S-T-E-A-D, Circle, Garden, North Carolina.
Are you a Progress customer?
I am.
Please proceed with your statement.
You may recall that I am the caregiver who is sequestered as federal funds at nights. My last visit here was my 8th night out in 10 years. This is my 9th. I'd like next time to come here and swing from the solar power chandelier. My mother will be 100 years old on November 17th. She was born the same day the Panama Canal opened. She is beautiful, even with advanced Alzheimer's disease. I have been her caregiver for the past 13 years, and I have learned to accept with grace, most of the time, the previously unthinkable. My mother smearing lipstick on lampshades, sticking wads of chewed gum on the wall, convinced that they will hatch someday, spilling urine on my feet when I lift her from her chair. However, I cannot accept with anything but dismay the double-digit rate hikes Duke Energy threatens to extract from our Social Security, which is the only income we have. It feels like a stiff punch in the gut. Lights are on in my house tonight only because a benevolent organization paid part of our utility bill last week. Duke Energy's newest bill arrived Saturday, and I put it on the pile of bills from other vendors also increasing their rates. Bank of America remains intransigent despite my most tenacious efforts, and my elderly car is under strict orders not to break down. Responsibilities line up in my head like rockets, all kicking. I am a mother bear, protecting my 99-year-old cub, and I smell danger in the woods, from a corporation behaving more like a predator than a power company. Where in this rate hike is there a concomitant dedication to cleaner, renewable energy in the future? My mother is oblivious to how precarious our situation is. I told her I was coming here tonight. I told her that I would be here for her and in her honor. She doesn't understand anymore, but she would be very proud. In her heyday, she sparkled with energy at wattages Duke Energy would envy. She is a stellar human being and my shining star. We partner in a transformative choreography of love and letting go. The lights have to stay on for this dance. Please don't raise our rates. Thank you.
Elizabeth Hutchby, and after Ms. Hutchby, Tanya Godsey.
solemnly swear that the testimony about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
Good evening, Ms. Hutchby. Could you please provide your name, and if you don't mind spelling your last name, I may be pronouncing it wrong.
My name is Elizabeth R. Hutchby, residing at 401 Southwest Street, Cary, North Carolina. The spelling of the last name is Hutchby.
Thank you. And are you a Progress customer?
I am.
Please proceed with your statement.
In fact, I'm a residential customer who finds life extremely instructive. Last week, for the first time in my life, I got stuck in a parking deck elevator. Alone in the cold of the elevator, I pressed the help button without a response. The lights went out. In the dark, cold elevator, I waited and waited. No voice ever asked me what floor I was on or what I needed. Screams for help didn't work. Neither did my cell phone. I was totally dependent on strangers to free me from that box called an elevator. Folks, the NC Utilities Commission's elevator needs repair. First, you, the members of the North Carolina Utilities Commission, need to have faith in your own ability to get unstuck. What if you call Sherry Berry, Commissioner of Labor? Her organization is responsible for certifying that every elevator is safe. Can you say that every energy facility is safe? Aren't all of us being sacrificed for dirty fuel profits? Energy Justice Network verified data proving that anyone living within a 30-mile radius of a coal-fired plant is at higher risk for cancer, asthma, heart attack, high blood pressure, and in fact, African American children have a 500% higher death rate from asthma than white children, thought to be because 68% of people of color live within the 30 miles of a coal power plant. In the Triangle, 1.15 million people live within a 25-mile radius of Sharon Harris Nuclear Power Facility, which has the largest depository of radioactive spent fuel rods in the nation. Does that sound safe? Relentless reliance on fossil fuels, routine rate hikes, constant threats of radioactive releases, increased rates of disease, and constant messes to clean up from coal ash ponds and the new worry of filthy fracking. All North Carolinians are stuck with the decisions of the frightening reality that all of us could suffocate before the Utilities Commission decides to provide fair regulation in the interest of the public. Year after year after year after year, we've waited for your help. But you approved the merger which creates a regulated monopoly. And now you've planned to keep us stuck till 2032 with only 20% renewables. Your mission statement requires you to promote just, reasonable rates and charges for public utility services or promoting conservation of energy. This is a mandate for elevator repair. The next time you see the photograph of Sherry Berry in an elevator, remember that millions of North Carolinians are depending on you, the North Carolina Utilities Commission, for safe, affordable electricity. Will you keep us stranded indefinitely, or will you choose to accept your mandate for change?
All right, Ms. Ashby, how about it?
Tanya Godsey, and after Ms. Godsey, Lee Howe.
Left hand about and raise your right. Solemnly swear the testimony is not to give this case with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth shall be done.
Good evening, Ms. Godsey. Could you please provide your name and address?
Tanya, T-A-N-Y-A, Godsey, G-O-D-S-E-Y, 2808-21 Avon Ferry Road, Raleigh, North Carolina, 27606.
You're a Progress customer?
Yes.
Please proceed with your statement.
Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I'm grateful that you're here to listen to the opinions of your citizens. My name is Tanya Godsey, and I'm a senior at NC State. You should reject the astoundingly high rate increase that Progress Energy is proposing. The Progress Energy Carolina's North Carolina rate case overview states that they will use 72% of the funds from these rate hikes to modernize their equipment, but coal and natural gas are no longer modern. Duke Progress should wean itself from these dirty energies and look towards a cleaner and more prosperous future with wind and solar. A citizen that uses an average of 1,000 kilowatts per hour will see a $15 increase in their monthly bill. This may not affect you as much, but as a full-time student that makes $130 every 2 weeks, this affects me greatly. Many college students still in school rely on part-time jobs and financial aid to pay their bills. For the recently graduated that are having trouble finding jobs in this current economy, they will be further crushed by these rate hikes. You, the North Carolina Utilities Commission, should deny Progress Energy this rate hike and force them to rethink their priorities towards their customers. Thank you.
Lee Howe. After Ms. Howe, Rachel Wooten.
Harold, if you put your left hand on the Bible and raise the right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony about to give this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth shall be done.
Good evening, Ms. Howe. Could you please provide your name and address?
My name is Lee, L-E-E, Howe, H-O-W-E, and I live at 2808 Avon Ferry Road, Raleigh, North Carolina, 27606, and I am a Progress Energy user.
Thank you. Please proceed with your statement.
First, I would like to thank everyone for being here, the Utilities Commission, the Progress Energy representatives, and all concerned citizens that came here tonight. My name is Lee Howe, and I am a senior at NC State University. Let me just give you a brief background about my family and myself. My mom grew up in Wrightsville Beach her entire life, and my father's family has been in Wilmington for almost 70 years. My parents met in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where they created the family that I have now. Needless to say, if it wasn't for North Carolina, I wouldn't have been here today, which instills a great pride in me where I come from. Both sides of my family have lived in North Carolina for almost 7 decades, and you could even say we've been investing in North Carolina's energy future for the past 70 years. I'm not saying that I'm against rate hikes, but instead what these rate hikes are going to be funding. From a Progress Energy Carolina's North Carolina rate case overview, they said, "We are retiring older, less efficient coal plants that do not have the state-of-art emissions controls and replacing them with cleaner, natural gas-fueled plants. And we are making important investments in our nuclear plants." Nothing in the overview stated anything about renewable energies. Now, I hope most people who are North Carolina citizens know about the North Carolina Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Portfolio Standard that was put in place in 2008. By law, our energy providers are told to have 12.25% renewable energy or energy efficient measures. And in that standard, neither nuclear nor natural gas is considered a renewable energy resource. Now, why should we work so hard to make a limited resource efficient rather than work towards the limitless clean energy such as wind energy? In a research and a statement from the Environment North Carolina, they stated that North Carolina has 297.5 gigawatts of wind power potential within 50 nautical miles of its shores. That's the largest offshore wind resource along the East Coast, and that could power all of North Carolina. If I'm going to give you my hard-earned money, I would like it to go to something cleaner, renewable resources, and I'd rather it go to that than towards fracking or any other kind of bad energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Howell.
And after Ms. Wooten will be Jerome Levissi.
I'm Rachel Wooten.
Let's get you sworn, Ms. Wooten, please. Solemnly swear that the testimony about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir.
Yes.
Good evening, Ms. Wooten.
Hey.
Could you please provide your name and address?
Yeah, I'm Rachel Wooten, 2721 Kittrell Drive in Raleigh, and I'm a Progress customer.
Could you spell your last name?
W-O-O-T-E-N.
Thank you. Please proceed.
I think I want to comment about some things that actually haven't been commented on. I testified at the last hearing, and I'll say again by way of introduction, I am a shareholder of Duke Energy stock. I'm a ratepayer, I'm a parent, I'm a lover of the natural world, in particular the natural world that is North Carolina, where I've lived my whole life. I want to comment about these proceedings. The process that we follow in these proceedings is very antiquated, very last millennia. It is like the biblical tale of David and Goliath. The process itself creates conflict. Duke asks for rate hikes. We read in the media that they were going to privilege industrial users over individual citizens in order to get their support for the merger. This merger, which now gives Duke Energy a monopoly on energy in the state. If it turns out that McCrory and the legislature prevail, you, the commissioners, may lose your job because you may be supplanted by people appointed by McCrory, which you can believe will be Duke Energy people. So Goliath gets larger and larger and larger. and more intimidating to David, who stands far below him with his slingshot and stones. But actually, I'm not interested in throwing stones. What really bothers me is the way these processes pit us against each other and make the Davids, and you could say I'm a David and a fingernail on Goliath since I'm a shareholder, but mostly I'm a David, but it makes people feel helpless, hopeless, and very angry. The solutions that we could find by putting our collective minds to work, if we were actually all at the same table talking to each other, instead of having hearings which may pit us against each other, we might be able to really come up with a clean energy future that is also profitable. But instead of cooperation, what we have battles. No one actually wins. This proposal is asking consumers to pay for something to which they categorically oppose. And that inflicts the worst kind of pain: financial, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And I want to say that this pain should be considered part of the cost of this rate hike. And so as a way of talking about this pain that I'm introducing here, I want to introduce you to an ecological theologian named Thomas Berry, who speaks very eloquently about this pain. In one of his many books, The Great Work, Thomas says the great work of our era is the transformative effort to change human-earth relationships from disruptive and destructive to mutually enhancing and beneficial. This is all our job in this era, to change human-earth relations from disruptive and destructive to mutually enhancing and beneficial. Thomas says that in our age, all conflicts, just like this one, reduce to the central tension between environmentalists and developers. It seems that many developers exhibit a low sensitivity to the concerns of the Earth community. How many Duke people have seen the 500 mountains in Appalachia whose tops have been removed? How many people have flown over the tar sands in Canada, which are like a nightmare you can't even imagine? So Thomas feels that the developers have this low sensitivity to the concerns of the Earth community, and that their willingness to continue to degrade the Earth suggests a deadening paralysis of some parts of human intelligence and also a suppression of human sensitivity. Environmentalists, on the other hand, are driven by a painfully high sensitivity to other beings. So the tensions between these points of view are escalating as every aspect of life is affected by the commercialization of our resources, and our natural systems are strained to the breaking point. And these losses seem to fuel both the desperate pleas of the environmentalists and the increasing demands of the developers. Berry says that along with these physical losses is the degradation of the interior world of the human, that we're losing our sense of wonder and majesty, the poetry and music and spiritual exaltation of the deep mysteries of existence. So I think these are some of the costs that we're incurring as we use these forms of energy that are crushing the earth. So I'm going to leave you with a poem that I really love, and interestingly enough, the title of the poem is Testimony, so I think it fits for the evening. Testimony for my daughters. I want to tell you that the world is still beautiful. I tell you that despite children raped on city streets, shot down in schoolrooms, despite the slow poisons seeping from old and hidden sins into our air, soil, water, despite the thinning film that encloses our aching world, despite my own terror and despair. I want you to know that spring is no small thing, that the tender grasses curling like a baby's fine hairs around your fingers are a recurring miracle. I want to tell you that the river rocks shine like God, that the crisp voices of the orange and gold October leaves are laughing at death. I want to remind you to look beneath the grass, to note the fragile hieroglyphs of ant, snail, and beetle. I want you to understand that you are no more and no less necessary than the brown recluse, the ruby-throated hummingbird, the humpback whale, the profligate mimosa. I want to say, like Neruda, that I am waiting for a great and common tenderness, that I still believe we are capable of attention, and that anyone who notices the world must want to save it. I hope you'll notice.
Thank you, Ms. Wooten.
Ms. Wooten, you provided one copy of the poem that you just read in a copy of your statement. Would you like those included in the record? Yes. Would you move that we mark those as Wooten Exhibit number 1?
Is there anything, Ms. Wooten, on your paper there that you didn't say?
No, I did include an article that I quoted from heavily, so I wanted you to have the article.
Well, mark the article as Wooten Exhibit 1.
Thank you. Next witness, Jerome Levissi. After Mr. Levissi is Octavia Rainey.
So I'll just let the testimony about this case with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, shall be God.
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Levissi.
Good evening.
Could you please provide your name and address?
Jerome Levissi, 1304 Hosmer Court, Wake Forest, 27587.
And if you could spell your last name for the court.
Levisy.
Thank you. Are you a Progress Energy customer?
Residentially, no. Commercially, yes.
Please proceed with your statement.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, fellow commission members, and other distinguished guests. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I'm not talking about a rate increase. However, I would like to talk about the relationship that I have professionally with Progress Energy. Please indulge me. I am the Chief Executive Officer for the Boys and Girls Clubs of North Central North Carolina. I have served in this capacity for the past 3 years, overseeing club operations in Vance County, Franklin County, Granville County, and in the near horizon, Warren County. Progress Energy has been a friend to Boys and Girls Clubs. They have a very active and viable footprint in the community. They have supported the Boys and Girls Clubs tremendously, both financially and with in-kind services over the past 3 years. We have been able to leverage their support to the tune of over $300,000 in real cash. In the Boys and Girls Clubs, we have an active membership base of 800 kids, 300 that we see every day. Without the support of the Boys and Girls Clubs, our operation, without the support of Progress Energy, our Boys and Girls Clubs would most likely have to reduce operations. That will equal about 67% of our membership receiving no services, specifically their last meal at school. Progress Energy has established a relationship not only with Boys and Girls Clubs, but other partner organizations in each of these counties that I serve. I have the opportunity to work with many stakeholders and key individuals in each of these counties, and the general feeling that I encounter is the same. Progress Energy cares about the community, and certainly without their efforts, Boys and Girls Clubs suffer tremendously. Thank you.
Mr. Levissi, one other quick question. You said you're the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club.
Boys and Girls Clubs of North Central North Carolina. It's a mouthful. Yes.
North Central North. And you're speaking on behalf of that organization this evening?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Octavia Rainey. After Ms. Rainey, Jason Welsh.
You solemnly swear the testimony about to give this case with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, shall be God.
I do.
Good evening, Ms. Rainey.
Good evening.
Could you please provide your name and address?
My name is Octavia Rainey,
and I reside at 1516 East Lane Street, Raleigh, North Carolina, zip code 27610. First of all, I would like to thank the chairman and the commissioners for allowing me this opportunity to speak this evening. I am here to say thank you to Progress Energy because you have done good things for nonprofits in the neighborhood. But I'm here on a personal reason for me tonight. I am opposed to the rate hike increase. I am opposed to this rate hike increase because I pay 3 light bills. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Those 3 light bills a month, it depends upon it. They may average me $400 to $500 a month. So you know I have to make arrangements to pay. I cannot support a rate hike at this time. I pay mine, I pay my nieces when they can't afford it, and believe me, that's like every other month. Then I have a cousin, and she has 5 kids, that's like every other month. And so for me, it's personal. I respect Marty Clayton, but this is business for me. Who wants to be in the dark? Nobody. It's very difficult when you're working with your family and you want their lights to stay on too. You want them to have a life that's comfortable. I want my niece to help to pay her. I want her to be able to pay her daycare, pay her rent. I want her to live comfortable. But they need help. And trying to make these arrangements with Progress Energy is awful. I would like to share what happened to me just last week with Progress Energy. I called because I paid 3 light bills. So I was trying to say, well, let me make these arrangements. When I called, I was calling in Florida somewhere trying to make an arrangement. And so the advice that I was given was totally wrong. Totally wrong, and I knew it was wrong. So I had to ask for a supervisor. So the supervisor was able to fix my problem. But when I looked at my problem, I had to stand back. Why should I have to ask for a supervisor? And the person who was helping me, I think I was calling into somewhere in Florida, that person was very nasty to me. That was unnecessary. But to give me the wrong advice when I had been making arrangements for a long time and working with my family members. Another personal one, and if I become teary-eyed, just please work with me on this one. When my grandmother was living, and I must give Progress Energy credit, I did call them and they tried to work with this. My grandmother, she was on all kinds of breathing equipment. And so when you bring this equipment home, it takes your light bill sky high. My grandmother was on the equal payment plan, and the bill was coming to her. It was not coming to me. When I came home one day, my grandmother was in the dark. All her equipment was off. I immediately called Progress Energy and said, what is going on with this? Why aren't you guys following at least the ADA Act, American with Disability Act, and allow reasonable accommodation within your policy? She could have died. Luckily, I got it back on the same day. But I have strong concerns, and this is nothing against Marty or his staff, it's business now. I'm concerned that with this rate hike, ordinary people who struggle to pay their bills was not at that table helping to make arrangements. And that is wrong. You cannot increase and ask for a rate hike without looking at your own policies and procedures. The policies and procedures are way outdated. Number one, when people have poor credit, Progress needs to change the scoring process for them to get their lights cut on. The second thing, they need to make accessible, not predatory, accommodations so that they can get their lights cut on. And if a person tells you, well, all I can afford to pay is $50 a month, then you need to take a look at your scale and drop that scale and work with them on what is affordable for them to pay. The second thing that bothers me most of all is that I just think Progress is outdated when it comes to the policies of working with the poor. They have this plan that if you go 3 months and you don't have to pay and you can prove it, well, you know what? If you can't pay the first 3 months, where in the hell are you going to get the money from to pay when it's totally due? You can't pay. I am very concerned that we were not at this table helping to set to Progress and do
Your policies are outdated. You need to change it. You need to stop this credit score rating if you want your rate hike. People struggle to pay their bills, so no, they're not going to pay their bills on time. We need to have reasonable accommodations for people with disability. And truly, what we have is outdated and it is awful. Yes, it is good that you work with the nonprofits, and I give you kudos for that. But I would like to see a better working relationship with the haves, with the poor people like me, the people who pay 3 light bills a month and barely make it. I just think that this rate hike is wrong. We were not at the table. I was not at the table. And I would love to give my advice. I think that there should have been more of us who have had their lives disconnected, barely can pay their bills, put the policies on the table, and let's have a fair and honest debate. I am opposed to this. I pay 3 light bills, and I love Marty to death, but I can't call Marty and ask Marty to pay my light bills now. I can't do that to Marty. So therefore, I am just opposed to this rate hike increase. I have told the Attorney General I am just opposed to it. We have petitions circulating in neighborhoods now of people who have had their lights cut off, and we're also asking to tell us about your arrangements you tried to make. I can only speak for me, and I can tell you when I called in, I was giving the wrong advice, and I asked, let me speak to your supervisor. Because they would have cut my lights off and my cousin them on March the 14th. And I'm just saying, I pay 3 light bills, and I am opposed to it. I think they do good work for the neighborhoods, working with nonprofits, but none of those nonprofits gonna pay my light bill. And I pay 3 a month. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Raymond.
Welsh. After Mr. Welsh, Robert Black.
Someone swear the testimony about to give this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, shall be told.
Yes. My name is Jason Welsh, W-E-L-S-C-H. I live at 848 Beerington Post in Pittsburgh. I am a customer of the company. Good evening. In 2005, I attended a public hearing somewhat similar to this one. That hearing took place in Westchester County, New York, and the hearing was seeking public input on a proposal to replace the Tappan Zee Bridge. For those of you who may not be familiar with the Tappan Zee Bridge, it is the longest bridge in the state of New York, crossing the Hudson River about 25 miles north of Midtown Manhattan. It is the bridge that carries the New York State Thruway over the Hudson River when someone drives from New York City 150 miles north to Albany, the capital of the state. It carries 7 lanes of traffic, more than 2 miles across the river. Construction was completed in December of 1955. I remember as a child seeing the bridge being built. So, in 2005, when I was attending that public hearing, the bridge was 50 years old. As I sat in the room, listening to the various speakers, my mind wandered to another more famous bridge that I was also familiar with, the Brooklyn Bridge. The Brooklyn Bridge was completed in 1883. So at the time of the hearing that I was attending, it was 122 years old and still going strong. And at that time, I remember I couldn't help wondering about the fact that we were discussing the replacement of a bridge, a 50-year-old bridge, that was less than 50 miles away from a bridge that was 122 years old. Why, one might ask? Very good question. Why? The answer, it turns out, is rather simple. It can be summarized in just 3 words. Lack of vision. You see, the people who designed the Tappan Zee Bridge were instructed to design a bridge with a projected useful life of 50 years. Yes, 50 years for a 2-mile-long bridge over the Hudson River. So we were in that hearing room because the bridge had reached its projected useful life and was now technically obsolete. The structural integrity of the bridge would become an increasingly serious issue. It needed to be replaced. The question in the room was not if, the question was with what? What should the design of the replacement bridge be? It was painfully obvious to everyone in that room that building a bridge in the early 1950s with a design life of just 50 years was monumentally short-sighted. Actually, it was beyond short-sighted. It was downright stupid. The people who were responsible for planning that bridge were severely lacking in vision. We are here this evening discussing a planning process that should be blessed with an abundance of vision. The decisions that you, the Public Utilities Commission, make will have profound effects on the years ahead. Financial effects for all the rate-paying citizens, as well as the companies themselves. Environmental impacts that will impact our entire world, which many of the prior speakers have talked about. We are looking at a utility company planning proposals for future power generation that primarily rely on more of what was done in the past few decades, rather than having the vision to incorporate new technologies that have the potential to lead us to a better place. I would urge you to examine the proposals before you with a clear understanding that the quality and integrity of your vision for the future is very relevant. It does matter. It matters to you, it matters to us, it will matter to all of our children. It is about so much more than rates. It is about the vision of the future embodied by the plans that we come up with to generate the power that we need. Please don't be so short-sighted that we will look back 20 or 30 or even 50 years from now when we might have obviously flawed decisions to replace and wonder, what were they thinking? Thank you.
Robert Black.
Yes.
And after Mr. Black, Madhura Deshpande, your next witness.
Put your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand, please. Solemnly swear the testimony about to you in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth shall be done.
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Black. Could you please provide your name and address for the court reporter?
Robert Black, 801 Branch Road, Raleigh, North Carolina, 8276066.
And you're a Progress customer? Yes. Please proceed with your statement.
I'm going to stick to my notes. My only question, my biggest question is 3% renewable in 14 years. I happen to know from doing a lot of research for the organization I work for that whole countries will be renewable by then. Entire countries that match our population. Cities like Cincinnati, Chicago, and San Francisco with populations of 8 million plus will be renewable by 2022. 50% by 2017. Coal spews lead, arsenic, mercury, among other life and planet-threatening toxins into the air that we breathe. It's attributable directly to 36,000 American deaths a year. We need renewable investment on a large scale now. If Progress has started their commitment long ago, as they should have, that dear lady who testified earlier would be able to swing from a wind-powered chandelier from any home or building across the state. Children will stop dying from coal-induced asthma, and others will stop dying from coal-induced cancer. Progress needs to exit states left from the dirty energy states that continues to pollute us on our planet, propelling mortality rates and climate change.
They want to propose a hike that people on the plan will stand behind, put it into renewable energy on a large scale that we desperately need. Please do not support the greed and ill concern for the people of North Carolina. Deny progress their hike until they get their heads out of the sandbox and do the right thing.
Listen, take a 10-minute break and come back at 20 until 9.
Good evening, Ms. Deshpande.
Apos on the pronunciation.
Thank you.
Yes.
You spoke at the IRP hearing.
Yes, I did.
Will you please spell your name for the court report?
Sure, it is Madhura. Last name is Deshpand. I live at 530 North East Street. That's in Raleigh, North Carolina, 27601, and I am a Progress customer. I run from someone that is on my Facebook.
Please proceed with your statement.
Thank you. I would first like to start off by saying thank you so very much for your time tonight. I know it's already getting late, and there are a few more people to speak, so I appreciate it. I'm sure people behind me do too. I also want to say that you've probably heard the same testimony at least a few times tonight, and I do apologize for repeating some of it, but I just want to start off by saying that I am happy that Progress Energy and Duke Energy donate a lot of money to support a lot of the communities around here. That is fantastic. I'm very happy to support that because I know that part of my money goes to support that, and I'm very happy to say that that is the truth. What I'm not happy about supporting with this rate hike that they're proposing is more fossil fuels. And if I'm not going to have a choice in the energy company that I can choose to pay power my house or my part of the house that I live in, then I should at the very least have the choice on what kind of energy I want to support. And right now, the only choice I have is 2.25% wind and solar, and I would like that to be increased. So if I cannot have a choice in where I pay, I should at the very least have a choice on what kind of energy I pay. And the second thing I want to say is, yes, again, you've probably heard a lot of these things repeated, but I think the reason that we're getting up here and repeating things, and I can't speak for anybody else, but the reason I'm going to repeat this is because I think I'm scared, and I think a lot of people are scared that if they don't get up here and keep you lovely folks here for 4 hours, and I'm really sorry about that, that maybe this rate hike will go through just as is. And so they're repeating a lot of things, like the fact that they want renewable energy or that they don't want more money. And I will say, honestly, I am 25, so I've not been working professional for very long in my life. I will be working a lot, and I will never be rich. It's just never going to happen for me. I'm going to be in nonprofits forever. But I don't oppose rate hikes in principle. I think that cost of living increases. I think that technologies change, and we have to adapt to them, and we do have to pay for them. But I don't see my money going where I want it to, and I want more renewable energy. That's just what it comes down to. This is my generation and the generations after me are going to have to look forward towards what's happening with our air quality, with our water quality, with all of these things. And unfortunately, as much as I don't want to say that coal is the bad culprit here, coal and natural gas and nuclear energy, all of these, they just don't have the same safeguards as wind and solar do when it comes to our health quality or our air quality or anything that comes with that. So it is extremely important for me, for my future life, as well as the generations that come after me, as well as all of us in this room, that we have clean air and clean water. And unfortunately, I'm sorry to put this on you, but what that comes down to are the decisions that we make when it comes to our energy. So yes, it is a side topic, but it's a very important one. And the best part about this is that we have an opportunity here to make it better. You know, we can make sure that Progress and Duke Energy are held to different standards. We can send them back to the drawing board and say, yes, we may give you a percentage of your rate hike, but you need to do it for different reasons, and they have to listen to us. It's great. You know, it's fantastic that we have the power to tell them, do better, because they will. Because 100 years ago, they didn't have to do better. None of the power companies had to do better, and now we're making real progress, but we can keep going with that. And we have a real opportunity here, as well as in the next rate hike hearing, which will happen again, I'm sure, to tell them, we want specific things, and you have to listen to us, because we pay your bills. So again, thank you so very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Nicole Asef, and after Ms. Asef, Kristen Norrell.
Solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, shall be God.
Yes, I do.
Good evening, Ms. Asef. Could you please provide your name and address?
Nicole Asef, and my address is 416 Clover Lane, Raleigh, 27603.
you spell your last name?
ASSEL.
Thank you. Please proceed with your statement.
Again, reiterating a lot of what Madera has said, I could give you facts for days on what we're doing with coal power plants in the state, being the second largest coal dependent in the U.S., and the health factors that we are enduring. It's not in any way a cheaper way to go, and it's not putting money in anybody's pocket except for people that are trying to enforce it, and the healthcare providers that we are continuing to supply with the reasons that asthma and all of the other issues that it's causing. I have a daughter who is 18, so I see this firsthand. She's had asthma since she was a baby. And to know that we actually can have an effect in changing the effects that are happening to people all around us by going in a positive direction instead of continuing in a negative way, it's up to us, and it comes down to morale. Money isn't everything. It's that simple.
All right, thank you very much.
Kristen Norrell, and after Ms. Norrell, Jonathan Sumner.
Mark?
I said hello.
Hello. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony about to give this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. My name is Kristen Norris, Norris. I apologize for my handwriting.
Your address?
Yeah, 1200 Trinity Oaks Lane, Raleigh, North Carolina.
And you're a Progress customer?
Absolutely, I am.
Please proceed with your statement.
Okay, doke. So I'm going to keep this really brief because you've heard a bunch of numbers that I could rattle off to you. But basically, I want to talk to you about the progress in the energy that Progress Energy is currently giving us. I think that it's completely absurd that we should be paying more money when we're only using 3% renewable energy over the next 20 years. Yeah, so I just want to keep it brief, but basically, I'm not expecting myself to pay more money when they cannot do a better job of giving us better energy, because I'm not going to do better if they can't. So that's all I really have to say.
All right, thank you, Ms. Norris. Appreciate you coming out tonight.
The last name I have on the list this evening is Jonathan Sumner.
Is Mr. Sumner here? Okay. Solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Good evening, Mr. Sumner. Can you please provide your name and address for the court reporter?
1675 Glengarry Drive, St. Carrie, North Carolina.
And are you a Progress customer?
I actually live with my parents, so I'm not sure. I believe they are.
Please proceed with your statement.
Tell nothing but the truth and the whole truth. That's a very strong statement. There's a world that we live in that's very large, and there's a lot of different people, there's a lot of different communities and cultures. And America, the home of the free and the land of the brave, is something that I'm trying to emulate myself, being brave, being up here and saying what I have to say. There's a lot of archaic perceptions going on in the world today, and I believe that it has to do with capitalism and solely capitalism. Capitalism is something that Rachel Wooden said something about that I felt was very powerful, and how it creates distortions within ourselves and within society. And I'm not necessarily against capitalism. I'm grateful for the elect that I have to live here within America and have the freedoms and ability to have time to research and read about all the different things that are out there. And there's a lot of stuff out there. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I believe that sometimes we try to hold on to singular perceptions and hold on to I'm a capitalist, or I believe in communism, or I'm a socialist, but we don't recognize that the world's changing. The internet's been around for 20 years, And I've been around since '95 online. My dad used to own 3 computer lands back in the day, so I've been learning a lot of stuff with the internet and computers, and I believe that technology will be able to bring a new world for us if we have the time and money to do it and use it. So I guess what I'm getting at is I want to think creatively about the world. I want others to be able to think creatively in hopes of being able to create a better world for the people of the world. I know that there's a lot of different things going on, and there's people who want to be able to maintain their positions in life, but I do believe in a resource-based economy. I also believe that hemp is something that has a lot of powerful different uses, with 10,000 to 50,000 different uses, and there's fuel that you can be made out of that. There's also ideas of thorium energy, or thorium reactors that could be put into everybody's homes and be able to actually get it to where people are able to be able to live a life without worrying about having to pay to a singular source that spreads out to the rest of society. I believe that's something that people could be able to use themselves, but that's something that I guess people have to get up to the point to be able to do that. We're just in a transitionary time in our world, and I believe that we have the ability to make it better, and I'm grateful for the people who have made the world the way it is today, and I'm looking forward to the future, and I just hope that people who are in these corporations and in these capitalistic environments think more about adapting a level of socialism, which is already happening with the internet and Facebook and things like that, and adapting a level of communism, recognizing that hemp is a strong ability to bring people together and be more sustainable and environmentally friendly for people to be able to coexist on this planet and make the world a better place. Yeah. But I'm also for all, solar energy, solar 2, 3, solar, anything that'll be able to get us off the current grid that we're on, but also be able to allow people to live here without worrying about necessarily money, but not necessarily worry, but just appreciate life and love each other more so. Be able to enjoy the moments we exist together as one, help each other out as one humanity.
Mr. Summer.
I believe we have one more person that's indicated they wish to testify on it. Audrey Schwank?
Schwankel.
Schwankel.
Solemnly swear the testimony about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, shall God.
I do.
Good evening, Ms. Schwankel. Could you please provide your name and address, and if you don't mind spelling your last name for the reporter?
My name is Audrey Schwankel. That's SCHWANKL. I live at 1285 Thompson Street in Pittsboro, North Carolina, and I am a Progress Energy customer.
Please proceed with your statement.
I came out here tonight after taking care of 7 children all afternoon. Got here late, so I didn't get to be at the rally, but I wanted to come. I wanted to be here. I wanted to hear people speak articulately about this issue, because it's one that's very dear to my heart, although I have little time to study it or write speeches. But I'm here. It's very important to me. And I just wanted to get my name on the list. So through the annals of time, when they look at who was against the rate hike and who wasn't, I'm against. And just one other little comment. I've heard a lot of people come and speak tonight up here about the wonderful things that Progress Energy does in the community. And I give you kudos for the things that you do. But as a utility, I think your main job is to provide energy that is safe and that is good for us in any way it can be. And that the money that we pay in our rates should be entrusted to you to carry that out. And I would personally rather donate my money, my own money, to the charities that I wish to donate it to. And I would prefer that Progress Energy used money to indeed help those who can't pay their electric bills pay the electric bills. I want to see a full-page glossy ad about Progress Energy helping people pay their electric bills. And I pay $5 a month to help the poor who can't pay their electric bills, but I'm talking about on the grand scale. Let's let's put it out there. How much are we actually spending to help the poor pay their bills? And if we're going to do rate hikes like this, we need to have that safety net. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you coming out tonight. We appreciate your testimony. We appreciate your interest in the case. We are adjourned until the 18th of March. Thank you.